You want to do the pledge?
Good morning. As is your custom, everyone, Merry Christmas, but this board begins with the pledge to the flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag
Of the United States of America,
one nation, under God,
under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
That didn't sound like Truckee, did it?
No, it didn't.
Somebody else is on
Good
there.
morning, everyone. Again, today is December the 20th, and this is the regular meeting of the Board of Supervisors of the Islands Community Improvement District. All members of the board are here. Is Mr. Truckee on the Zoom? Dan, are you there?
Yeah.
I am.
Okay, he is participating by Zoom. I do have a copy of the affidavit of the notice of today's meeting on file at the district's office at 5672 Strand Court. With that, Mr. Chairman, the first item today would be the approval of the agenda, or with any amendments.
We got to get Dan on board first. We got to make a motion to.
We'll do that as part of the approval of the agenda to allow him to participate remotely.
Okay.
Citing exceptional circumstances. Any additions to the agenda today? If not, then you can entertain a motion to approve the agenda and to allow for Supervisors Truckee's participation by Zoom. Is there a motion to that effect?
I make the motion to approve the agenda and allow Truckee to attend.
I'll second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay.
Thank you. Next item is public comment.
Do we have any comments?
Any public comment?
Okay.
What about this?
What?
What about that?
We can say that now, I guess. Do you want to do that? Or do you want me to? Okay, got an email from the Ludwigs thanking the board or the CID for giving, and the community for giving to that veterans donation. Also, on December 31st at 1 p.m., there's going to be a ceremony honoring Zach at the Delta House Warrior Home. That's at 4220 Gulf Stream Drive in Naples. If anybody's thinking about going to that and you need this address again, just stop up afterwards and we'll give it to you again, or call one of us. But it'd be great if we could get a bunch of people. I know it's New Year's Eve, but it's early in the day. If we could get a bunch of folks to go there, I'm sure that his mom and dad would really appreciate that, but thank you.
She actually came to the office. It was delightful to pick up the memorial gift that the board discussed and authorized at the last meeting. So we were glad to be able to do that for you.
Yeah, thank you for that. Is Kevin sick today?
Kevin's got the flu, bad enough that he had to go to the doctor yesterday. So I said, don't come.
Good deal. All right.
There will be additional public comment at the end today for any that are there and appropriate. Item 4 today are the minutes of your last meeting that occurred on November the 15th, and they're behind the next tab in your agenda.
Does anybody have any changes? I know I provided him with some, but there's any others?
Motion to accept as amended.
I make a motion that we accept the minutes as amended.
Seconded.
Second.
All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Item 5 today is our monthly utility activity report. Matt is here. Matt, we appreciate what y'all do. Merry Christmas to you. We get you in and out so you can go earn a living.
Thank you. Merry Christmas. Good morning.
Good morning.
Okay, for summary, operations at the facilities throughout the month were in accordance with our contract and regulatory requirements. All our wastewater plant requirements were met and all water distribution requirements were met. Reuse pump system is functioning as intended. Canal Pump Station is operating on 2 pumps. We received and treated 2.25 million gallons of wastewater in November. We produced and distributed 3.3 million gallons of water in November. And we distributed 9 million gallons of reused water in November. We used 600 gallons of chlorine. We were at 857 meters. We inspected all pump stations weekly, did odor control checks. All the upgrades on the plant are done with the exception of the filter. So,
Yeah.
not yet. It's supposed to arrive in the US on the 6th, and then we should have it by the 16th is what they're telling us. January, yeah. And so we'll have it in shortly after that.
So did you have to get an extension on that?
We did get an extension on
Okay.
that, so we filed for that, it was already approved, so that's all set.
All right.
We had a few maintenance items, but overall it was a pretty quiet month, fortunately. We had the transmitter on the wells died, the radio, one night, so we had to come change that out in order to get the wells to turn on and make water, but we got that resolved within a couple hours and we're making water again. The internal recycle pumps behind the plant, the rehab's complete, all that piping, painting, belts, new motors, everything like that, that's all done. That was part of that original estimate for the capital improvements. We had an overhead light fixture that we replaced, 3-phase breaker for the air compressor went bad and was replaced, and we processed all of the sludge from the digester in-house this month. Other than that, we had no OSHA reportable accidents, and we completed all of our safety training.
Perfect.
Question. You said you do inspections. Do you drive around the port and do those inspections?
Correct, yeah.
Could you just have your guys check the covers on the different valves? Because I've gotten reports that covers are not on, they're missing.
Like the large in-ground valve with the metal lids, or are you?
Plastic.
Oh, the meter boxes?
Yeah,
Okay, yeah.
there's a lot of them on Newport side there.
Sure, yeah, we can take a drive around and see which ones have been torn up by lawnmowers or
Yeah.
blew off in
Sure.
hurricanes and stuff like
Yeah.
that.
Thanks.
Yeah, no problem.
Matt, I had one item. We've been corresponding this week with the hotel on a receivable that is 6 months old for an emergency repair that we did to an irrigation meter.
Correct.
The direct cost that we incurred for you guys was about $2,000. I gave them until the close of business today to bring that current, and if not, then we were going to put the required 48-hour notice of turn-off for that meter.
Okay.
If you'll just coordinate that before the end of today with Kevin, if not, then I want you guys to go ahead and put that shut-off notice on the front door of the hotel over there in accordance with our instructions.
Sure, will do.
All right.
I'll call Tom again today too and see if I can.
I think he's out of the country or out of town, but
He's supposed to have came yesterday.
I didn't know that, but I've been discussing with his general manager, I think his name is Jamie.
Okay.
I've talked to him twice this week. We provided them with a whole series of photographs and backup detailed information that should have resolved their questions on Wednesday morning, and I gave him until the close of business today.
What their issue is we're trying to tell Tom it's the hotel's bill, and he's trying to tell us that it's the condominium association's bill, and they're fighting back and forth, and either way, it's not getting done.
The account, unfortunately, is in their name,
Yeah.
and the policy is, I don't really have the discretion to work outside of the policy, and
You're
so
doing fine.
we'll argue about it on another day, but it's been 6 months, and
Yep.
and we gave him some professional courtesies that I thought he was entitled to.
Yeah.
And that transmitter that went out, do we have any redundancy with that?
So we didn't. We took one off of another part of the plant, reprogrammed it, put it out there, but since then, I bought 2 spares for the plant.
And the other thing, every once in a while, we wanted to test the water over by the liverboards and stuff like that.
Right,
over
the
there.
arena,
Yeah, so we want to put that on the list there,
yeah.
okay.
I'll add it
I don't
to
like it, E. coli, nitrate, I don't know.
Sure, yeah, just see if there's anything abnormal.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And final thing before we, I saw some correspondence yesterday or day before that we are making progress with the sub-consultant on those general conditions for
Correct.
the wastewater treatment permit. You want to just get the board a little update on that?
Yeah, one of the action improvement items was the blend ratio study on the reuse water. The blend ratio is, you have three things in your reuse water. You have treated wastewater, you have supplemental water, which is just well water, and then you have the concentrate from the ROs. And so they want those blends to be at a certain ratio. They don't want too much concentrate in that water. So they just asked us to do a study on that to make sure that everything's up to par. That's basically that. And then I was thinking there was another one we were working on.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I just want the board to know that we updated you on the renewal of that permit at your meeting last month. You authorized some additional tasks in order to meet the state's requirements, and they are on schedule.
Oh, the other one is a study on the well that had it had some high lead levels, the well back here in the back, and so we're doing water quality analysis on that well.
Okay. One other thing, I don't know that you have this in your books, but we're struggling to get where the easements are in this property. We couldn't get them from Cal or anything else, and I've been working for over 2 years trying to find it. You guys wouldn't have any maps or anything showing where our easements are, would you?
We have a lot of plans at the plant, so I can look through it and see if any of those.
Or you could just point me, and I could spend my time digging through it if you'd like.
You're welcome.
Okay,
Welcome to.
yeah, it's just, there's so many records that we didn't get,
Yeah,
and,
I just recently moved all the plans from the plant into like the electrical room where it's nice and cool and
okay,
more climate controlled, and laid them out flat. They were all rolled up.
yeah,
So I was trying to get them to last longer. So I just moved them like 2 weeks ago.
Okay.
They're all ready for any investigation we make.
perfect, thank
So,
you.
until the engineering firm as well.
One suggestion so all easements are recorded in the public record, so they should be easily determinable through the Collier Coach website. So if maybe you can reach out to me.
I've been on the
afterwards.
appraiser's website, and I can, I've
Be
gotten,
on the,
a lot of this, but it doesn't show easements.
So the appraiser won't show easements. The Collier clerk maintains the official land records of Collier County.
Yeah.
CollierClerk.com, and you can search by grantor grantee. If they're on our property, we're the grantor. If it's on someone else's property, we're the grantee. And you can search that in the search box and you'll find the documents. Unfortunately, unlike the appraiser's website, there isn't going to be this convenient map. There are going to be legal descriptions. Sometimes there's sketches and it's helpful, but that's not required to be sketches. But if you let me know what you're looking for, I can help, and my paralegal can help find these easements.
So do we have to have an identification of each piece of property to be able to look that up?
No, you can search by party. So we would just search by for the islands.
Oh,
But Neil and I.
It's a little tedious. I spoke to Ms. Hanson about it before the meeting, but we'll coordinate that between Zach's office and the civil engineer.
It's achievable.
okay, good,
Yeah, we're gonna work on it.
all right. Anything
Mr.
else for
Truckee,
Matt?
did you have a question?
Dan?
Nothing.
Thank you,
Matt,
Matt.
thanks again. Have
Thank
a
you.
great day.
Appreciate it. Have a good one.
Item 6A today is just a reminder. I did confirm the availability of your utility rate consultant in Orlando to participate at a workshop a month from now, as long as that is still a good day for the board. The intent for members of the public who are here, the board engaged a utility rate analysis last year to try and bring their rates into a line with comparable public utility systems throughout Southwest Florida. The intent is to evaluate establishing a monthly base charge that is tied to the size of the meter, and then consumptive use or metered use for utilities used or distributed as a result. So it will be a big deal for this community. The board received a presentation last summer. They decided to table any further consideration until we get past the holiday season and the largest number of residents are here. So that is currently scheduled for January the 19th. We were going to do the workshop at the beginning, any regular business items that we have to follow, but Mr. Ori is available and will participate by Zoom, and he'll have his full presentation that he also provided last summer.
So for those of you who haven't been privy to this, what we're trying to do is get away from doing so much of our assessments on non-ad valorem, especially for the utility part. We're trying to get away from taking that large number that's basically subsidizing our water bills and get that actually onto a use basis rather than just take it off the top. So basically then you'll end up paying for what you use rather than just paying,
Just paying.
yeah, okay?
Very good.
Is this gentleman that we're gonna talk to, know that we wanna put meters on every liveaboard? I mean, can we do that? I guess that's the main question, if we're talking about that now.
Submeters?
Well, I spent a bunch of time, when I was out deer hunting, I had my iPad in there and I went through our rules of procedures and all that. And I do know one of our rules is any customer in Port of the Islands is supposed to have a meter. Now, whether or not that's feasible, I don't know. I think the marina has community meters or, designated meters. I believe the small condominiums over there as well have community meters. It's just something that we're going to have to decide as a board in the community how we're going to handle this.
I'll make a note that we have referred to him the customer account data that we have so that he can be prepared to discuss that. I know a lot of market rent apartments do that type of thing. There is a master meter, but then there's sub-meters that pass those costs along to the tenants. And so it would be a process similar to that. Currently, they're not sub-metered, is my understanding.
No. And if we're trying to get a base rate to everybody, then maybe it's just, if there's X amount of people on a meter, you just have that many base rates under it or something, but it's something we need to look
We'll have to
into.
defer to him. I don't have a lot of background information on that, but I understand the concept if that's something that you want to evaluate. Right now, they're sort of considered master metered through
Right.
their condominium association, and then they pass that cost through on their, the condominium assessments on a quarterly basis. If we're going to evaluate having sub-meters, we'll need to have him coach us up a little bit at the workshop on how to accomplish that.
I'm not really interested in sub-meters. I mean, the more meters we have, the lower the base cost is gonna be. So, because we divided, we pick up another 100 out there, we pick up 175 there, before you know it, we get 300 more meters to lower the base rate for everybody, so.
Now, I did read too that the meters are our responsibility as a district. We buy the meters, we install the meters, we take care of the meters. So the customer doesn't have to pay for those meters, we do. I think we already spent about 400 grand putting them in the rest of the community. So it'll be a fair bit of money depending on how we end up doing it, because we're just looking at this now. But what else? Yeah.
If you think of it, you can mention it. Item B, and I distributed to you, we've corresponded further with the South Florida Water Management District about the use of your commercial parcel on the other side of 41 as a staging area for an upcoming project that they have to further develop the manatee winter protection project that they have just south of the community. Zach has drafted a revised license agreement that has some additional provisions in there that I'll let him talk about a little bit. The district staff know that this is coming. You remember they originally asked us to just grant them a construction easement, and we said, no, we have a standard license form of agreement. We'll be submitting that to you. Zach, you want to just kind of
Sure.
give them the
And-
highlights?
Some of the items we talked about that are included in here are hours of operation, so that it's not something they can use at their own discretion. I set this at 9 to 5, Monday to Friday. If you feel differently about that, we can change that. Another major change from the form is we added a security deposit into the license agreement and standards about restoring to original conditions, so that in addition to there being an obligation to restore the original condition, there's security being held to ensure that if South Florida, for whatever reason, doesn't do that, the district has the ability to do that. But globally, what they're trying to do is put a construction office trailer on the site and essentially use it as a staging site. So it includes, oh, sorry, go ahead.
As far as public entities, normally when they're doing some kind of work, they provide a bond. So
When they're doing
rather than
construction
get a
work.
rather than get a security deposit, wouldn't a bond be better?
So they're not performing construction work for the islands. And so typically public entities do post, because they can't lien property, they post performance or payment bonds. And we can ask instead of that, but we're giving them a right to use property as opposed to them constructing anything for you. So if we can explore a bond route, if that's something that they're open to. I just felt that they'd probably be more expecting something along the lines of a security deposit here. It's not a construction contract.
One other thing I'm thinking of too is the seawall. Do we have that inspected before they start this?
You mentioned that last month, and so
Yeah.
that is one of the, I'll call them general conditions of the license agreement, that there will be a pre and post inspection of the seawall in the event that damage occurs during the course of the project.
And who will be paying for that?
They will be responsible in addition to the $5,000 license fee.
One other thing that I was thinking of, there was that fellow here that was last meeting that was talking about working to get the channel dredged out there. I don't know if this is something that we could, also bring up to them, that being they have their equipment here, possibly we could do some cleanup at the same time. I don't,
Certainly could be asked if you'd like
yeah.
us to.
I mean, it would be great if we could roll it all into one, and it would be helpful if we could get
Where
that.
can I get specifics on what we're looking to do there, so I can articulate that?
Okay.
Was he a resident or
I can't
somebody
remember,
associated?
does anybody remember who the fellow was? Is it him that just walked in? Okay. We're talking about South Water. They're gonna do that manatee thing over there.
Yes.
And I was just mentioning that maybe we could talk to them and see if we could do some dredging at the same time. Have you done any more?
I have it to give you the packet now.
Okay,
So I'll
perfect.
do that later today or whenever you're ready.
All right, thank you.
So I'll review the packet and we can include that in our discussion. Yes.
And you had no generator out there, right? They were gonna tie into
We've already addressed that. Nothing further on that. The final item that I had before the financials today, Mr. Truckee, I had just kind of put a placeholder on the agenda for any updates concerning our grant applications. Kevin is not here today, he's out with the flu. Is there anything that you wanted to share related to the grant applications?
Just a lot of behind the scenes work. We've combined some of the projects, building the new storage tank, the 250,000 gallon storage tank, is now combined with putting the new well line in that goes from the wellheads to the facility building. That's all together, and we're trying to get that moving again. We're running against the January 20th date is kind of creating some problems right now. So a lot of the FEMA people will be replaced when that turnover happens on January 20th. So it's kind of, things are moving a little bit slower right now because of that, all the changes that are up and coming. But a couple of our grants moved into the final stage to get funded, a couple of the smaller ones. Some of the road repair and things were right around $80,000. That one's moving forward. The repair on the pump stations, that was another $8,000 or $9,000. That one's moving forward. things like that. We have a lot of engineering going on right now. We had to move forward with the engineering for the water line. So we did, and that's in progress right now to put a new 10-inch HDP water line from the wells to the building. So that's moving along. The funding isn't, we're answering a lot of questions. They pulled us out of the approval. We thought we had it approved. They pulled us out. I think it was because FEMA was out of money for a while there. They pulled us out and then started asking us all the questions they had asked us once already. So we're going back through all that paperwork again, and it'll go back into the funding line. So not the small ones, a couple of them are moving forward, but the big stuff right now is still we're still chasing that around.
Okay, thanks, thanks for that. Item 7 today are the monthly financial statements. This is the first month of the fiscal year, so they're pretty unremarkable, but I'll give you a little overview. As of October the 31st, the district had a combined cash position, $4.3 million, split between the operating and general fund, $3 million, and then the water and sewer fund had an additional $1.3 million in cash at the end of the month. Additionally, there's $8,550,000 in fixed assets associated with the depreciated value of your utility system and other associated infrastructure that you own. Total assets on hand at the end of October, $12,882,000. There were $79,000 in payables that were outstanding at the month, shown on the liability portion of the balance sheet. Just quickly on the next page, on the income statement, you will see $12,600 in interest earnings. They continue to be high and within the forecast that we had for the month of October. I get asked this question a lot. You will also notice that under non-ad valorem assessments on the revenue side there's $4,700 that was received. And I get asked from time to time, how does that happen? Because the tax bills don't go out until, 2 weeks after the close of the month. Certain people who have escrowed their taxes and insurance, the escrow agent will advance money based off of estimates or prior year's amounts. And so the $4,700 that came in is as a result of somebody's escrow agent who is paying the taxes actually prior to when the tax bills are received, and then they'll trim up based on whatever the final trim notice was. Overall, I think I'll just stop there. Again, they'll get a little more meaningful as we get to the end of the first quarter, but happy to answer any questions that you might have.
Have we given any more thought to that funding, that loan that we were talking about that you were so familiar with?
The SRF funding?
Yeah. Just to recap, that was low interest, like 1-2%, and then sometimes they forgive up to 50% of it?
Options for significant forgiveness, sometimes higher than 50%. There needs to be an identified project for that, and so if there's something that the district has in mind, we can.
Dan, Truckee? Dan, are you there?
I am. Just had to click off mute.
Okay, so is there things here on our CIP that we could be working on that won't be involved with this grant money that we should be looking at starting?
We can go back through those projects. This last fall here, we added, we went into a brick grant and added a bunch of our CIP stuff to that to see what that would look like. But there's more projects on the CIP. We could work something out if you want, something that we likely would have to pay for ourselves. But we have a lot of different requests in right now for grants to see what they're willing to cover and what they don't want to cover.
Well, if you could come up with an idea of what we could start out on the CIP for next month, and then we could work with our attorney here about looking into getting those cheap funding. So, because I still have of the mind that if we can, we should keep our reserve money gaining the 4.9% interest or whatever it happens to be, and borrow money at, 1 or 2% and possibly get a bunch of it forgiven. I mean, to me, that's a no-brainer.
Matt, is Matt sitting out there yet?
No, he's gone.
He left. Okay. All right. I was going to say we could look into the meters. I don't know what it'll cost to do. What would we have? 118 and probably a couple hundred meters we would have.
And they're close to $500 a piece, I think. 350 to 500, somewhere in there. By the time they're installed, I'll bet it's closer to 500.
Okay, so that'd be $500,000 or whatever. We could take a look at some of that. There's a lot of things we can look at. We just have to go back through and see which ones are. It's early yet to tell. When you start the grant, you put the request in, then there's a bunch of paperwork that goes back and forth, and then you start getting an idea of whether you're going to be in the grant pool or they're not, kind of thing. So it takes a while to know. So we'll have to work on that. I can just look at it. I'll get back with Kevin when he's feeling a little better, and we'll come up with something.
But a lot of our CIP is under block grants or FEMA grants already, right?
There's a bunch of it. The last round on the brick grants, we covered, that water tank that needs a new roof. We covered water line that goes from the plant out to 41, the main line before it starts splitting off for the neighborhoods. We got that in there. We already have grants for the canal pump station. That was $500,000. We're redoing all the well stuff on the original grants. That's to fix the road, add culverts, put a new water line in, raise the wellheads, the piping up to a new flood level, submerge the one pump, all well stuff that's going to get done. Their good boxes, their electrical boxes will all get raised. New electrical will have to be pulled for that. That's all in the grants. The big water tank, like I said before, was in the grants. We have a lot of things out there. So
What about street repairs? Street repairs
Just to be clear on this program, the program for the SRF fund is going to be wastewater, stormwater, or drinking water. So
Okay.
the street repairs were tied to the stormwater collection system programs. But
that's why we're looking into the easements right now, because we have some folks that would like to see some of the drainage cleaned here. And, so that's maybe something that we could work on sooner than later.
one suggestion, it's my understanding the community is a member of the Florida Rural Water Association.
Yes.
They are really helpful at identifying what are likely successful SRF projects.
Yeah.
And so it may be helpful to make contact with your FRWA representative to see what their suggestions are, because they assist a lot of similar communities, not just in helping identify the capital asset management part, but knowing what kinds of projects qualify, because they're heavily involved in projects that get funded by SRF constantly.
Okay.
So I'd suggest, in addition, Mr. Truckee looking at this obviously would be invaluable, but I think FRWA has a pretty high level understanding across the state of what kinds of thing gets funded, and that might help to, and they could even be asked to maybe zoom in and talk to you a little bit about that, because I think they're a good resource. Another avenue to look at is there's the Resilient Florida grants. We have to double check and see if this is something that extends down to CDDs, but if it does, there's a grant funding program to allow an engineer to create a resiliency analysis of the area. And then once that's created, grants can be issued under that program, which is a DEP managed program. And there's a couple positives here. One of them is one of the major focuses is stormwater. And so that's a good place to get stormwater grants. And the other positive is because it's a Florida managed program as opposed to a federally backed program, the grant system tends to be faster and a little bit more easy to work with. The federal backed grants, especially the FEMA grants, are very onerous and insanely time consuming, and there are plenty of governments besides yourselves that are waiting on IRMA grant money today. Including governments that have entire grant writing departments.
Sure.
So it's, you guys are doing an incredible amount of work to get these grants funded, but one thing that can help is trying to pick the easier categories of grants, and the state funded ones tend to be that.
Just for the community, again, I mention this at almost all the meetings, but I know people are asking why maybe they're not seeing enough improvements being done here in the community. And what's holding us back on all this stuff is we've got grants in for just about everything that we need to do in here. And we can't start on those projects until we get a determination from the government what they're going to fund us. If we start those projects before they give us a determination, they get thrown out. So it may look like from the surface that we're not getting anything done, but believe me, Dan and Kevin Carter and them are working diligently to get this stuff through. It, unfortunately, it's like every other thing in the government, the wheels turn slowly. But we will do what we can with our own money, like we were just talking about. Anything that isn't in the grant, we'll start looking at what we can do to start moving forward on those projects. Any questions on that? Yeah.
Kathy, I called 1500 on Newport. Why were we assessed the money on our property taxes, that we were raised that certain amount because we said we were waiting on grants? Well, if we paid that money in, why aren't we using that money? Just asking.
I don't understand the question.
The money
We,
we probably wouldn't have to use, but we were going to put it in the budget anyway.
Oh, no, we're gonna have to use it. We're gonna be using it.
Okay, but
Yeah.
that, you're saying that we're waiting on grants. Well, you said that the reason why we were going to have to pay that money was so that we would be able to do something until the grants came in.
If you go back and
Kathy?
look at, go ahead.
okay, Kathy, we have a couple different things that you got to look at when you're talking about that. One of them is we are spending some money. We spent probably real close to around $400,000 on the water plant very recently. Might be a little over that actually, for updates and things like that. And some of that is grant funded. So we are spending some of the money. All right. The second thing that you really got to look at is as we move forward, we got some things going on with how we're going to charge. So our consultant had said that we could start out with the money we have, and then we would have to add a 8% charge to meet our CIP within the next year, and then after that was a couple of 5%, and then it would finally get down to like 3%. All right. So we took a look at that, and one of the things we were trying to do is we worked on the O&Ms this last year, and we wanted to make them fair across the board because O&Ms, like last meeting, we really covered what the O&Ms are all about. But we thought that the O&Ms had to be divided equally across the community. All right. In order to make it equal, we had to change the way we charged there. And when we went to an equal amount, because houses were already paying 1, condos were paying a 0.8, we made it all even. Now that picked up a little bit of extra money for us, but we're looking at that first 8% raise that was supposed to come next year to meet the CIP, and we probably won't have to assess that 8% raise. So it makes a difference if you can see the whole picture as to over the next 3 years, we were going to have 2 5s and an 8% raise. And now as we even that up, we picked up a little bit extra money that way to make it fair. But that'll save you an 8% raise likely come next year. So we are looking at the whole picture, but there's a lot of different moving parts that go into that. We're trying our best, and I'm very comfortable with what we've done so far. I hope everyone else can say that we've tried to be very good with the community's money, and that's what we're looking at. That's why it's being done that way.
Okay, thank you, Dan. I had some knee surgery, so I've been out of pocket for the last 2.5 months, but.
One other thing, Kathy, is on our website, there is that study from our consultant. And if you go and read that and you look at the conclusion at the end, what he's been telling us is that we've been under assessing all along and that we are working basically at a deficit. So in the past, we were assessing just for exactly what we needed to pay our bills each year. And we weren't putting reserves away for when we needed to do upgrades and fix things. It only makes sense to start trying to have a little bit of reserves and actually start assessing for what we are actually spending and depreciating out. And right now, our assessments are lower than when I moved here 5 years ago. But costs have gone up dramatically. But we're going by what the consultants are telling us, because that's what they're experts at.
Okay, so the amount that was in the additional amount we were in, our property taxes, once we get this water thing figured out, that's gonna go away, or we're still gonna be paying that every year?
Well,
Because I was under the assumption that it was only this past bill.
what we're trying to do is we're trying to change this so that it isn't that big assessment that you're getting, that non-ad valorem assessment that you're getting, won't be like that anymore. Because you know the utility part of that is the lion's share of it. We're trying to get to where we're not going to put that on your on your assessment bill. We're trying to get that to where it'll go on the water bills.
I don't
So-
understand. We're paying our water bill, and you're saying that we're just paying money out. Well, I'm paying for the water that I use.
Actually, the water that you're paying for is probably 25–30% of what it actually costs to produce that water. The rest of it's being paid for is being subsidized by that utility, non-ad valorem utility assessment. So the people who aren't here not using water are subsidizing everybody that is here using water. We're trying to get it to where the people who are using the product are the ones who are going to be paying for the product.
So the people that live here but aren't here year-round don't have to pay for their water.
Of course they got to pay for the water. Everybody pays for the water.
You're gonna pay for what you use, instead of everybody subsidizing the.
Well, that's what they're doing now. If they're not here, they're not using any water, so they don't have any water usage.
So they're paying for it with their non-ad valorem assessments though. They're paying 75% of our water bill now.
Yeah, I
Real
think
water.
It'll just be the way that the rest of the world bills.
Okay, I don't understand any of this.
simple numbers.
It's just,
Your utility
Maybe-
system gets $1 million subsidy every year from taxes or non-ad valorem assessments. And so you're heavily subsidizing your utility operation off the tax bill. And this is the premise of the utility rate workshop next month. And because the board preliminarily has said they would like for the $1 million subsidy to go away and go back to the residents. And then you're going to see increased cost on the monthly utility bill because there'll be a base charge, whether you use a drop of water or not. And then there'll be consumptive use charges for every water gallon that you consume.
Plus, that's
the
how
world does it.
That's how Collier County does it, and they may at some point come to us and want to buy our water treatment plant from
I
us.
highly doubt that, but we'll move along on that one. You've been working-
Okay,
they've been
let me-
working on that for 20 years that I've lived here, and it hasn't happened.
Kathy, maybe I can help you break it down on a more personal note. The houses, let's say between the condos and the house and everybody, let's just use some round numbers and say your bill on your non-ad valorem is $2,000. All right, we separated out the O&M, which pays for all the roads and everything, right? that's used in on the community except for the water and sewer. So let's say that $777 bill that you get for an O&M now, out of that 2,000 leaves roughly $1,200 left that was non-ad valorem charged for the water. Okay, so now that $1,200 bill goes away. You have a non-ad valorem now that's going to look more like $777. And that $1,200, some of that is going to get picked up in the monthly charges for your water and meter charges and things like that. And then we'll be in line with the way everyone else charges for water. And it'll be direct, your per gallon rate will go up because without that $1,200 subsidy off the non-ad valorem, your per gallon rate will be higher. All right, so the people that are using the water will pay for more water and more of it. Will it look real similar to what I think it's going to be pretty close to what you pay now. If you take the $1,200 savings off your non-ad valorem and divide it out into the 12 months a year on a water bill that's going to go up, I think you're going to be pretty close to where you are today. You'll just be paying for what you use. So right now, the people that don't live there all year,
$17 every other month. I'll lay you odds that it doesn't come off of our ad valorem when the water goes up to $50.
Let's move along here. We dealt with this last meeting and
This is good
You're
work,
not
Jack.
convincing me.
I need a motion and a second to accept the financial statements.
I make the motion to accept the financials.
I'll second it.
all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you. That concludes my report today and takes us down to the Attorney's Act. Did you have anything else?
I just had two items. One, by general update on the PDM lawsuit, your former manager and the defendant in the case has switched counsel and now has an insurance carrier counsel who we've made contact with, and I believe we have a productive way to potentially resolve that matter, which is good news. And I hope to be able to report more thoroughly on that. On the PrepMac lawsuit, there was a mediation. It did not settle at mediation. However, after some discussion, we believe it would be productive at this point to do what is called an offer of judgment. This is a settlement offer that, if not accepted, and then if the number offered isn't able to be achieved by the plaintiff within a 25% tolerance, attorney's fees for the district are able to be recovered after the settlement offer. We believe this is a good tool to continue to push that case forward. And so what we will propose to you after discussing with your chairman is doing a $15,000 offer of judgment. If it were to be accepted, that would be the end of the lawsuit. If it's not accepted, that can create the attorney fee liability for the other side of the case.
Because right now, we can't recoup attorney's fees. We make this offer to them in writing, then it changes the onus. Yeah. So, are you guys in favor of making that $15,000 offer to
Yes.
us?
Make the motion.
Go ahead.
I make a motion that we make the offer for $15,000.
That second?
I'll second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
And other than that, unless you have questions, I don't have specific items to report on.
Can I ask what the lawsuit's for?
This is case number 19CA3923. It is a assessment challenge of a prior assessment methodology.
Well, years ago, this has been going on for over 5 years. They were disputing how the assessments were done. And so they filed a lawsuit for it.
It's been pending since 2019.
From my notes, if Zach has nothing further, there are no follow-up items from the former meeting. There was no new business other than that on the agenda that would take us down to any additional or final supervisor requests or comments.
You'll get the proposal for the engineering.
Yes. I was going to add, Zach just had his first child, and other than the fact that he didn't shave this morning, I think he's pretty alert and sleep deprived. He tells me he hadn't had any sleep, but he's Look pretty good, congratulations.
Congratulations.
I appreciate that.
Boy or girl?
A girl, I think she's about 14 days old today. So it's been a sleepless experience.
Enjoy it.
Of the
Enjoy it, it won't last.
Well, I'm happy to hear that the sleeplessness won't last, but I don't think that's what you meant.
Any final public comments this morning?
Well, we also have the folks from MI here that we could work in here at some point.
I'm not acquainted with them, if you'd like to introduce them.
Alan?
Good morning, I'm Alan Gruber. I'm the Director of Land Acquisition for MI Homes of Fort Myers, Naples. And we have a contract on the, I believe it's parcel 13, just to the north here, with the intent of investigating to develop 109 single-family homes on the property. And I'm here today to discuss with the board our plan. We are purchasing the property from an owner who has previously submitted site plans for approval to Collier County. I brought you copies of that plan because I believe the board, it may have been the previous board, and Mr. Pierce had comments on that were somewhat, from what I understand, unresolved. These for you.
I'll pass them out.
Sure.
You want to pass those to the board too?
Absolutely, yes, sir. Thank you.
Now, this is Lindsay's plan?
No, this is our plan.
Oh, okay.
We have, well, because he had already done his first submittal,
Thank you.
we wanted to keep his plan substantially the same so that we do not have to go back to the end of the line. We have made some changes on the plan. I believe Lindsay's had 100, this has 109, which is the full entitlement under the current zoning for which is allowed on the property. This moves the amenity to the east side of Union Road.
Dormitory land. Call that the dormitory.
Okay, the dormitory land.
Yeah.
And then we also took out a couple of things. If I recall correctly, from the board's comments, y'all wanted to see some access for the residents here to the common areas, which if you look at, this would be oriented such that the left side of the page is the north. If you look at that lake on the north side that we would intend to construct, you will see several parking spaces there where people could come via an automobile, bicycle, golf cart, have access to that lake, and as well see the canal. On the south, there's also some additional access. One thing that we do plan on changing from this is in the center to the south lake, it says dog park. I'd asked them to change that to, with lot 41, which is one of the furthest lots south, to move the dog park down to this little corner lot where the stub is there.
Excuse me, we'll try to get this on our website right away. And, or can we put this on our meeting thing easily or not? Okay. We'll get it on our website so you all get a look at it. Sorry.
So I wanted to see, we want to work with the board in making sure that, your needs are met as well as our needs are met. That, while we're going through, it's our intent to resolve the issues as quickly as possible so that we can go in for the second submittal. I'll pick up where Mr. Case left off. We are using the same engineer, Michael Dellett with Grady Minor, for convenience sake, if nothing else. But they were already heavily involved with that, and they have completed, the first submittal as well as the submittal for the environmental resources permit to the Water Management District. That has been extended into January, and we would, our intent would be, if we move forward, to go ahead and renew that permit with a plan substantially similar to this. This is not the final concept.
Excuse me, guys. We have to hear this.
But it would be substantially the same.
Okay.
So,
One quick question. Have we gotten anywhere with the county as far as the old land?
Yeah, there's a parcel, as you may know, that is south of this, that was
Yes.
a former hotel site, and we had asked the county 6 months ago to consider declaring that surplus for the property of either being conveyed to the district or to issue a request for proposal for plans from developers. They seemed inclined to want to do that. They did not want to give us the land because I'm told they invested about $400,000 in demolition and some remediation, tearing down the old hotel. I sent a follow-up request introducing you to the county in an email, I think it was about 2 weeks ago.
okay.
I'm dealing with the county manager. He's out for some type of medical leave, but my email was forwarded on to the county manager, and I hope to hear back from her right after Christmas with some update on that.
Well, we would certainly like to have some kind of resolution as well for
Understood.
that county land, because
Yes, if
I
you're
think all the
land
residents
planning and
would
trying
agree.
to
Yeah, it's kind of an
come up with
eyesore.
some concepts, it'd be nice to know what additional opportunities may be.
If you refer to the site plan, we've left that stub of a road there with the anticipation if that should come to fruition, that we would be able to do a phase 2 on that county land and continue with additional home sites around the lake. In consulting with Mike Dellett at Grady Minor, he had indicated, because it was a hotel, there's a certain amount of density that could be assigned to the site that can be converted to single-family home density. He was estimating, and he was going to dig into it, 15 to 20 units is what he thought. But that he wanted to research it. We do not have a plan for that as of yet until we get a final answer back from Grady Minor on that.
Would you have any interest in putting multifamily there or just single family?
Right now, MI Homes does not build multifamily
Twin
products.
homes? You probably do twin homes though?
We can do paired village, yes. Yes, we could build those if the density is sufficient.
Sure.
But the plan right now would be, single family if we were to do that.
Mhm.
And for reference sake, these are 60-foot lots that we did a lot fit study, which you can see the footprint of what would be our largest home with the addition of a pool on most lots, just to ensure, that our footprints will fit on each lot, and as well, if a buyer wants to add a pool, that would be available to them too. Most of the lots can accommodate a pool. On the south end, there's some that are abbreviated because they're constrained by the width of the property and will not have pools.
Well, we're gonna work diligently to try to get that land from the county, because it would fit in here nicely. You could have a loop street, and we would have more ERCs on the books. So that's what our goal is, to get more
I'll be in
revenue.
touch with you.
Okay.
I'm acquainted with Mike. We've got a good engineering firm there, and if we have an opportunity to meet with either the county manager or the deputy county manager upon his return, I think it'd be good to have y'all at the meeting and have your civil engineer as well.
Yes, we would like to do that. We've worked with Grady Minor in the past. Mike's a good engineer, as you said, and he's guiding this process through right now for us. With respect to the ERCs, y'all had, with a payment from Mr. Case, extended his ERC due date. We wanted to explore the possibility of a further extension for MI Homes, that we would basically coordinate with our closing date on the property. Assuming we move forward and close on the property, it comes out of our due diligence. We're looking at probably a June closing, once the closing conditions are satisfied. That would entail, the full approval of Collier County to approve a final site plan and a pre-plat, as well as obtaining the environmental resource permit and the other necessary permits to begin development. Mike has indicated, Mike Dellett that is, that we're probably looking at a June closing date. Likewise, I believe Mr. Case's agreement with the POI CID spaced out his payments on those 1 year. Well, the initial payment was 2 years after he closed on the property, and then 1 year henceforth. When we make the first payment, what would coordinate well with our sales pace would be also to have the payments on the ERCs be 1 year later where we would make those installments. So we'd like to bring that up for consideration as well.
So if you would need another 3-month extension to get you to June, would you be willing to pay for that $60,000 fee? Because that's what basically we lose by giving that extension.
If we could get something in an agreement in writing, that would be something we consider. Clearly, we would prefer not to.
Of course.
It's not in the budget.
Yeah.
But with some of you being aware, what we were delayed by a host of reasons with Mr. Case. We unfortunately are getting started with this a little later, and that March 22nd date, which we still, I think it's unlikely that we hit at this point, but we're doing our best to try to be able to do that. If we can come out of our diligence period earlier and move forward, we certainly would like to do that, but we would like to be able to have, so if it doesn't work out that way, have some kind of anticipation of what the cost will be, that we can, as a company, make a business decision on, okay, this is what the cost is going to be to extend. Is that going to work? Or, does it pencil in with this deal, so to speak?
Does anybody on the board here have any questions on this?
These are all 2 stories, or what's the minimum?
They're generally going to be 1 stories. The maximum would be 2. We do offer a couple of 2-story plans, but I think most of the buyers will opt for a 1-story.
Square footage?
They would be about 1,700 square feet. The largest would be just about 3,000.
As far as extending the ERC buying and whatnot, I don't know, I think I know what the board's feeling is, but I'd sure like to hear it.
Cindy, Lindsay actually, they're not closing until then, it's really Lindsay's responsibility.
Yeah, if they don't close until June, it's on Lindsay come March 22nd or whatever.
Yeah, that's, yeah.
Our contract with Mr. Case, involves that during our inspection period, which we're in right now, we need to have some kind of resolution for him.
Right.
So thus I bring it up now, because we need to work with him if we're going to move forward in order to get that done.
And you're welcome to communicate with me.
Okay.
I got your phone number.
I think, as was the case before, if you could, either with or on your own, sort of memorialize the nature of your request in writing.
Mm-hmm.
And I've just talked to Zach to tell him there's been a previous extension and a fulfillment fee that accompanied that. It'll get him up to speed, and we can have something to propose to the board a little more tangibly when I see them a month from today at this joint meeting and workshop.
Okay.
But that extension that he's talking about actually isn't on them. If they're not going to close until June, it's still on Lindsay.
So I think what he's saying is that contractually it is on them.
Oh, it is?
Yes.
Oh.
We have to resolve that, and Lindsay wants a reimbursement. If we do that, it was our intent to try to get it closed before, so no reimbursement was necessary. But it was a lot slower in getting under contract than what we had hoped.
Understood.
That
We
March
understand.
22nd date still, that's still the same, right?
We know what you're dealing with.
So, we're obligated to work with him. And we don't want to undermine his position either.
Understood.
So, if we're not going to move forward for whatever reason, also, we want to give him advance notice because that is the agreement he made with the board, or with the CID.
Okay.
Yeah, nice to meet you.
Thanks.
Thank you for your time.
Are you leaning like this is going to happen or not quite sure yet?
We haven't completed all of our due diligence at this time.
Yeah?
We're going to be working on some of that while we're down here today. We still have several other tests and evaluations to do on the property that are still pending. We hope to have all that back in the first half of January. We should have everything complete.
Do you want a board member to accompany you today?
No.
Answer any questions?
I appreciate it, the offer. I don't think it's necessary, however.
Okay.
Several of the things that we have still outstanding are things that the consultants have to perform.
Okay.
If that looks good, then, we can look at it moving forward. To be quite, candid about it, one of our biggest concerns is the noise from the gun range.
Mm-hmm.
And that's one of the things, we were aware of it before, certainly. We have ways that we can mitigate sound, and then some other issues came up that, with FHA loans, apparently there's a decibel level. So we have that we have discovered that, and we have to investigate that to find out if we can, if we're going to allow buyers to use an FHA loan, if we can certify that that decibel level is below or at, I believe it's 75 decibels is required. And then as well, I've been out here a number of times and spent time on the site listening, to the sound to see, how bad is it? Because that's really the biggest, issue against sales. It's a lot quieter down here in Orchid Cove than it is if you're up north near the shooting range itself. But our division president was here for an event that Barron Collier Company sponsored, I believe it was last Saturday, and it sounded like a war, So that concerned me because it was more than I have ever heard any time when I was out here. Of course, it was one of the busiest days, but that is a big concern for us because ultimately, we want a successful community, we want a nice community, and not something that the homeowners are going to be embarrassed.
Right.
To bring people, or feel unsafe in any kind of way, in their home.
I would like to communicate it as a board with the gun club over there too and see what we can do I know there's already a dirt berm on some of their property as well as ours. And you talked about raising that up. I know before I talked about putting groves of trees and whatnot in there, but it didn't happen, so, yeah.
Well, our estimates look like with the size of these lakes, and part of that was our intent, that the site has to be raised up out of the floodplain for one. And then with additional excess fill that we have, build a higher, wider berm along the property that we would purchase, that would be south of the road, Union Road there that extends to the entry of the club. And then we have not reached out to them yet, but we have had some thoughts about what if they were amenable to allowing us to place some of that extra soil to create new berms on their property.
Sure.
That would even do, further mitigate the sound and potentially safety as well.
Exactly.
So, that would be up to them as a landowner. We have no control over them.
Right.
So they would just have to be.
We don't either.
Yes, I know, and they would have to be agreeable to it. So,
Well, anything we can do to help.
thank you. Appreciate your time this morning, and please contact me if you have questions. We'd love to have your comments, to make sure that and it's not marked on there as public access right now, but that's the intent, and, we can certainly mark that when it goes to Collier County. This is not the final plan, but it will be substantially like this.
Right. And we're not going to try to have a whole lot of involvement on what you're building. I mean, that's your deal.
Okay.
We don't want to hinder you.
It's all about absorption.
Correct.
Alan, thanks again.
Thank you.
And
I appreciate your
willingness
time.
to
Fellas,
share
for
this
coming,
information.
appreciate it.
Any final public comment today?
Jeff?
Deborah Jansen, Sunrise K. When parcel 13 was discussed in the past, the community and the board worked to set up covenants. So my question is, how are those going to be involved with this new owner? And does the community have an opportunity to ask questions about what this development is going to be like?
I'm sure when they get closer to having their plan, we'll probably be able to get together with them and see what they're looking at doing. Didn't we not put restrictions on some of that property as far as, like the 1,500 square foot homes and
Yes.
whatnot? I believe those things are still in place.
But you aren't sure that Mr. Case passed all that information on?
Well, I think that went right onto the deed. The same.
If I may jump in, hello, Mr. Chairman. It's
Go
Tony.
ahead.
Yes, those covenants were recorded before the deed went of record, and they're referenced in the deed, so they do encumber that property and run with that property.
So we are still on that same thing.
And maybe it'd be a good idea to put that on the website so that the other people in the community can see what the agreements were, and they may also have some additional questions for this gentleman.
I don't know if we can really put their sales agreement on their website.
I think, are you referring to the covenants or the sales agreement?
I'm mainly interested in the covenants that the community had met and talked about in the past regarding this parcel.
Tony, is that something that we can do?
Those documents are public records, and to the extent that Neil can have it there and still be compliant with the ADA issues, yes. I mean, it's approximately 20 pages long, the Declaration of Restrictions and Protected Covenants for Parcel 13. So those are, and again, Neil, it's up to you. It's 20 pages long, a PDF, and again, it's public record. And so if Neil can get it and accommodate it on the website.
Okay. All right, thank you, Tony.
Thank you.
Yes, sir. I'll mute myself again.
Okay. Anyone else?
Alan Zito, 525 Newport Drive, owner of a bunch of slips on Dock D. Last time I was here, we had a discussion about some of those assessment fees, the water that we were talking about, the credits that were going to be discussed between what the marina should be paid and what they shouldn't be paid for each slip. And they came across an agreement that liveaboards would be credited as half of the value of 1 point that the house would be credited for, and then the non-liveaboard slips would be a fourth credit, a 0.25 credit. What in that time has changed, and what expert opinions do we have that makes everybody liable for the back? I'm sorry, you used the word under assessing for many years, and why everything should be evened out amongst people who don't use water like me, who don't live aboard their boat.
Dan, can you handle that? Mr. Truckee?
Yes, I'm here. We can talk about that. We tried to equalize that assessment ratio because you got to remember the O&Ms, and this is getting into the big thing we talked about last meeting. The why we did it that way. Because our consultants highly recommended it. Actually, both consultants, we talked to the tax assessor last year sometime, and the tax assessor thought that that should be even on the O&Ms as far as how we do that. So That was our drive to even that out. And that's what made that 777 charge. All right. And that gave everybody a 1 on the O&Ms. That did not address the water usage, the ERCs. And that's what we're working on this year. That's what we were just talking about a little earlier in this meeting, where we'll try to take that non-ad valorem tax away and get it into a per gallon water charge and things like that. The issue
No,
you're saying,
I understood the spiel about putting water meters on each individual slip or house to assess everybody's water usage. But the last time I was here, there was an agreement put in place, and you said that your people advised you to do that. But ethically speaking, why do you think that that was a good decision to put people who don't use water to pay for the bill for people who have pools, who water their lawn, who take showers, who drink the water? I wash a boat once a month, and why am I responsible for all of the credits, or why am I responsible for all the back water bills that this company has neglected to maintain in years prior?
This is for O&Ms only, has nothing to do with water. The rate that we changed was only for O&Ms. That's your streets, your management, all the other things. It has nothing to do with what is on your property.
Well, water's a big chunk of it.
No,
Also,
it's not.
these O&Ms, all these other things, we had the discussion last time, that a non-liveaboard boat, I mean, I run a business, cool, all right, so I run a business, but the guy who's next to me, who doesn't run a business, he comes there, visit his boat once a week, maybe. Why is he responsible for all the roads and all the things and everything else that you want to attribute the same amount of cost for somebody who has a house? Why is that the same? Why is this supposed to be equaled out that way?
Because in
let
government,
me comment on that one. Do you park on 41 and walk in? Do you?
No.
No, you don't. All right, the people from the homes don't either. All right, do you go to the store? Do you buy groceries? Do you come in and out? Do you go to town for any reasons? You do. You probably go just as much as somebody in a house does. That's where we tried to equalize this. You can come and go as much as you want. It's the same thing as a house, all right? We have to pay for those roads. We have to landscape. We trim the trees and fertilize the flowers and all these things that we do in Port of the Islands that you use as much as I do. I don't use the trim trees and the flowers any more than you do. I don't use the roads any more than you do.
I don't
You
know
come
about
once and
that. It's kind of a little arrogant to think that everybody uses the same amount of road and the same amount, like I might drive back and forth. But that's also not true for everybody else that lives on these non-liveaboard docks that aren't a liveaboard area that goes to the grocery store. I don't go to the grocery store and come back into this area, so that's not true. But the last time when this was all discussed and it was a big uproar about this entire situation, there was a common agreement played when there was lawyers here present representing, what's his name? Scott Prepko. When there was lawyers here representing them, where there was an actual, hey, if this isn't, there's some fair compromise made, that something bad can happen from that. So now we already know that there's PrepMac is sued for one thing happened 5 years ago or so. That is this not going to be another thing that he's going to sue for because you've gone back on the agreement that we made 6 months, 7 months ago, however long it's been. So why has it been changed, and who, and if you have these people bringing you in, what kind of evidence do they have and what kind of statistics do they have that prove that everybody uses these exact same things and uses that exact same rate, and that somebody who owns a plot of water no bigger than from me to this TV and the mud that's down below, the same as somebody who owns a huge quarter acre of lot, or however big these lots are around here?
Go ahead. I don't disagree with you. It wasn't 6 months ago. It's been a year and a half. The methodology was most recently revised, I think it was July or August of 2023. It was done in a public forum. There was notice sent in advance of that. And related to tax equity, the single largest charge on everybody's tax bill is the public school system. And I bet there's not 5 kids that live in one of the islands, but there's millions and millions of dollars that are paid to the Collier County School Board in support of, public education, even in spite of the fact that 99% of the people who live here don't have any kids in the school system. So, but I would ask you to go back and look at the record of that proceeding in public hearing that was held in August of '23, and the findings and the conclusions of the economists that made the recommendation to go to a single ERC for every type of unit, and then an equivalency for all the commercial property and the hotel and the county marina. It's all part of the record of that meeting that occurred a year and a half ago.
So this one person that came, did you give anybody else's opinion, or you just took his one person's opinion about what we should do?
He's considered to be the preeminent economist in this part of the state for this type of evaluation.
Plus the tax assessors, Collier County tax assessors. We actually had 2 consultants.
Yeah, I understand. I mean, in this case, your ox is being gored, and that's why the illustration of the school system, taxes, I don't know that there's anything fair about taxes, but if you want to go back and review the record, it has been on the website for some period of time, from the time that it was presented a year and a half ago.
The other problem is, and we keep bumping into this, everybody keeps saying it has to do with the utilities. We're saying it only has to do with operation and maintenance. It does not have to do with utilities. So it doesn't matter if you've got water on there, or doesn't matter what's on top of your property. It has to do with maintaining a portion of the community.
But how is $1 million home the same as a boat slip that's valued around $60,000?
It's access to the community. Whether we had a golf course here or not, if you didn't golf, it doesn't matter, you're gonna pay for the golf course community as well. It's called access.
There again, it doesn't matter that there's a $1 million house on there or there's a $10 house on there. It doesn't matter when it comes to O&Ms.
Florida law, and maybe in conclusion, Florida has a uniform method of applying non-ad valorem assessments, and we are obligated to follow the Florida uniform method of assessments in lieu of and I don't know what the house range is here. There may be houses here that are worth $500,000. There may be a house or two here that's worth $5 million. Everybody here is paying the same rate, and that's the way the non-ad valorem assessment method works. And whether you agree with it or not, I mean, it was done in accordance with Florida law, and whether it's fair or not, that's why I used a little illustration about public schools. There are no kids that live here in any appreciable number.
So this $1,000 extra bill that I have on all 10 pieces of my property, is that a recurring yearly thing, or is this a one-off situation that won't happen again?
No, the annual maintenance assessment is reoccurring until or unless the methodology were to be further changed, either with the addition of new ERCs on this piece of property that the county owns, or some change in the manner in which they're applied. I don't see that changing anytime in the near future.
So operation and maintenance is budgeted every year.
So this bill right here does not solve the problem that you were trying to achieve.
What were we trying to achieve?
This extra money that you have coming in by changing everybody's number to paying an equal share, does that solve the problems that you're trying to achieve right now?
Well, extra income, yes, will help. Will it solve the problem? I don't know,
Well, why would you charge us if you don't know?
Well, we actually, to the chairman's point, we charge 2 different assessments. One to subsidize the utility system, a totally separate one to perform the operations and maintenance of the other assets that they own, whether it's landscaping, street lighting, drainage, roadways, and it is what it is.
Well, my property taxes have gone up 3 times as they were last year. 3 times. Don't saying that is not going to solve any of the problems. You think it might solve some of the problems, or you know that all that money was going to solve it. Or next year we're going to add more money to it.
That's a matter of opinion. I appreciate your opinion as the district's chief executive officer. Typically we give 5 minutes for public comment, you get 15. And I'd be happy to talk to you further about it if you'd like to.
Fair enough.
Or any other public comment? The next meeting. No, go ahead.
Were you expecting?
John Thorman, Orchid Cove. Just to Alan's point, everybody's taxes tripled. The condos, the boats, the homeowners didn't.
Well, the other issue in that respect
I
is
wasn't asking a
you
question.
got
I wasn't
added,
asking a question. I think I have my time to speak.
you'll have your time.
Yep.
I
Right,
want
and you
you
can
to,
definitely finish and answer my question.
No,
I'm
sir.
done. So I have, what do you mean, no?
no, sir,
Well, excuse me, do I have 3 minutes uninterrupted?
not under law. I'm trying to
I'm
answer
sorry,
the first
I
part
think
of
that's
your
what
question.
you said last time, or last meeting, that I have three minutes uninterrupted. I'm just gonna ask a few questions and you can address all of them.
Well, you said something that factually is incorrect. and
Well, I'm
trying
just gonna
to
finish up
provide
and you
you-
can correct it at the end.
I'm gonna go ahead and tell
I
you.
think you should wait
Your
for 3 minutes.
taxes went
Excuse
up
me,
in
can
part
I get
because
a
you were
judgment on
added
this
to
or
the
a ruling on this?
I advise the board, I'm not a judge that allocates rulings, I'm advising the
Go ahead. I gave you an answer. I'm not sure you heard
I'm not listening to you right now.
it.
Okay, so once again, everybody's tripled except for homeowners. 2, I understand now we're planning to put water meters on all the liverboards. 3, Orchid Cove took a vote on the gates. It's a no. And parcel B, are we planning to sell it at any time? Or are we going to keep that? Right now, there's a for sale sign on your property, but I don't see one on parcel B. And if we go ahead with that Florida project, that's going to tie it up for a couple more years. Okay, go for it.
And if you're interested, the principal reason your ad valorem taxes or your tax bill went up this year was you were added to the mosquito control district for the first time in history. We were annexed into the district and you're now paying a millage rate based off the value of your home in support of the mosquito control district that has not previously occurred. We have nothing to do with that. Barring any other public comment?
I'm sorry, we're going to get answers for the other 3?
The commercial property is not being actively marketed for sale at this time. The board did adopt some policies for how and the fees of people that want to use it for staging, for marine construction and whatnot. We talked about that at the beginning of today. And if your neighborhood did a straw vote in support or in opposition to the landscape entrances, I'm glad to know that. That project is not currently funded. The conceptual plans that were shared 2 or 3 months ago were intended to generate some input back to the board. It's not currently a project that's budgeted.
We spent $500,000 on that piece of property and we're ready to take out another loan for $1 million. I just want to understand why we're even holding on to that or owning it.
That's a policy decision that I'm sure will get some further consideration at the appropriate time. Next meeting is January the 19th.
Wait, I got,
Let me.
oh, I thought you were adjourning.
The workshop is, and will be advertised as a time certain to begin at 9:30. It is important, and then the regular meeting will follow the conclusion of the workshop.
That's the 17th,
19th.
that's a Sunday.
Yeah,
Let me check. It may be-
17th, Friday,
it's
19th.
whenever that Friday.
Third Friday of every month.
17th.
17th. Sorry for that.
Mary Anderson from Orchid Cove, did our board give you our opinion on the gates that we were proposing?
He just did.
Okay.
Did you want our opinion?
He just gave it.
Yeah, Mary, I said it's a no.
Okay,
Yeah.
definitely a no.
You know, I just want to say one thing quick. I love the fact that you guys are coming to these meetings. I just wish we didn't have to be angry about it. Can't we, let's just discuss stuff in a reasonable manner without getting it hostile. You know what I mean?
Steve, I asked the question. I was just asking the question. I was getting interrupted.
I understand.
So I'm not being hostile. I'm
That's
just trying to get my 3 minutes in. First time I've spoke at this meeting. Just wanted to get some answers.
Appreciate it.
We had an agreement a year and a half ago apparently about these things, and then whenever the summertime comes around, there's not a lot of people around, they'll sneak back in something that triples everybody's.
See, that isn't
property
fair.
taxes.
That isn't fair.
But that's what
Every meeting here is on Zoom. Because you're not here, doesn't mean that you can't watch the meeting or be involved in the meeting. Because you're not here, doesn't mean that we have to stop everything.
Because I'm not here, you can do ethically immoral things that you know are gonna.
Immoral.
Bring them up at those.
Immoral.
Yeah,
That's enough of that.
I'm not going to argue with you, but our budget process and the type of methodology analysis is prescribed by the Florida legislature. And I have to have an advertised public hearing. It typically occurs in either late July or August in order to get my budget transmitted to the county and to the tax collector in time to get it on the tax bill. There's nothing sneaky or underhanded or immoral about that. It's been that way for 100 years, son.
Well, 4 years ago, there was a methodology that broke everything down into different portions.
Hey,
So I guess it's all matters of
I'm just trying to respond to the
Please
comments.
don't use any names like call me son, because I wouldn't say grandpa or anything to you. Just, you can talk to me and just look at me. I mean, I'm listening to
I'm
you.
just answering your questions.
But you can say it
The
without
most
using any
recent
words like
decision
that.
was not 6 months ago, and the process that we use to prepare and submit and take the public hearing and adopt a budget is prescribed by the Florida legislature. There's nothing underhanded about it.
We
It's been that
couldn't
way for
possibly
100
do
years.
anything more to involve this community than what we're doing. We put this Zoom stuff in, we put everything on websites, we do what, anybody in here who wants to be involved has the ability to be involved. So because you say, I'm not here in the summertime, therefore we're doing things underhanded and sneaky and malevolent or whatever you want to call it, it's not true. You have the ability. If you don't choose to participate, that's your choice.
Understood. Yes, sir.
Thank you. Gandhi Loserda, 162 Newport Drive. Just a quick question. One, I don't think things are sneaky, it's all done by law, but on the other hand, I just want to know the ERCs that were for the original buyer, how many ERCs were those?
To the original buyer
Of that property?
Lindsay case.
Well, from what I'm understanding is originally there was a couple of hundred on there.
Okay.
But when the county took it over for taxes, you can't charge the county for taxes. Then, and I don't know where this happened, because the previous board said that those assessments or those ERCs were removed and put into a pool for the district that could be resold. I have never been able to find any paperwork anywhere that removed those.
This is why I'm asking that
The
question.
current number's 109. When that may have been addressed or changed prior to that, I don't have any knowledge of.
I know he said 109. I'm just saying before, one of the meetings I attended way before, there was a lot more than 109.
We've heard that.
And those ERCs were going to again supplement all the other stuff that we have, the OEM and all the other stuff. Is it Mr. Case? Is he going to be responsible for those missing ERCs that he?
No, because the past boards removed them from that property. So when he bought that property, it had nothing against it. That was a board decision made before we were on here.
Okay, that's why I'm asking this question.
Yeah.
So,
And that's
So
fair.
if I may, the past board created a contract that addressed 100 ERCs to that property in the contract. And they're payable at different years, year 3, 4, and 5, 33% year 3, 66% of them year 4, and the rest of them in year 5 of the contract. And that's what Lindsay Case signed the original contract with. At this point, that's a contract. All right, so that's how they got put back on there. The rest of them would likely still sitting they go back into the community here to be resold at a different time.
well, if I remember correctly, I believe it was said that the property was sold for $2 million, and that we were going to get $3 million of ERCs.
Other way around.
Or, I'm sorry, okay, $3 million and then $2 million of ERCs. So, is that going to happen?
Well, that's certainly what's in the contract. That's why when he came and asked us for this extension, because he was supposed to pay us in September, but he wanted this extension. Well, we came up with what exactly it costs us to give him that 3-month extension. It turned out to be $60,000.
I think we should hold him accountable for those $60,000. That's just my opinion.
He already paid it.
That was a condition
He paid it.
of the board's willingness to grant the extension, and he paid that immediately.
Believe me, we are not letting them off the hook on that.
Okay, thank you very much. Otherwise, he is paying the same maintenance assessment on his tax bill for that part. He's paying 109 theoretical units for maintenance for the general fund as though it was fully developed. Thank you.
Okay. Hi, Beto Baker, 525 Newport Drive. I stated in a previous meeting that I attempted to get a dredging program for the islands going. It's a couple-year process. Got to the point where the state told me that this has to be handled by a governmental board. So I have all kinds of things to pass on to you guys and willing to help answer any questions in the future.
Let me take them and I'll make copies. Okay. Just I keep the official record of the proceeding. And
in effect, then the chief of South Florida Water, she recommended that most people hire an outside company for the permitting. Okay. And in here are how different cities have done it. Barco's really different. Naples, everybody's done it different. The only people that didn't go through the process of hiring a company to do it was Everglades City. They're a little more unique situations. They have so much commercial fishing going on in there that it worked a little differently for them. But this explains how all the other communities do it. The bottom line is, it sounds like we need to go that route.
yeah, and I actually have other clients, Pelican Bay in particular. The Pelican Bay does maintenance dredging of the Clam Pass Inlet and the backwater there. And they get reimbursed by tourist development taxes because it promotes tourism and boating. And so I've got a little bit of experience with that. But we'll take this and try and do some history. You would need a coastal civil engineer to be able to process your application. And you might need an Army Corps permit in addition to the DEP permit.
We will start the process.
We'll
I'm willing to help any way I can.
Yeah, what was your first name again?
Patrick. My name is on the very front of the top of that. If I can get my own if they need it. For the community too, right now, the worst and lowest part is, as you're just a quarter mile past the condos and homes, you come to what were basically white PVC pipes. You put it there by the marina, they're painted, and there's a lot of, I think it's the same white stone that you see along the sides. That's in there. I know I got about $3,000 in property damage currently being worked on.
Yeah, and we're at record low water. Yeah. Anyone else? Please.
Just wanted to ask a couple of dumb questions. Dumb questionnaire. It's good. My name is Michael Jura. I live on Newport Drive, and you guys were saying you did a study and you hired a consultant to determine that you need to put water meters on the boats. And I'd like to know what is the average annual water consumption of a boat in relationship to a condo unit and a hotel condo and a home?
We did not ask our consultant to make a recommendation concerning having meters on boat slips. A member of our board indicated that he was interested in getting some information to sub-meter the meters that are already in place for that commercial condominium.
And one of the reasons because the rules that are presently in place says that any customer of Port of the Islands has to have a meter. It's never been done, but that's what's in the rules now.
Well,
we also had one of the members from the dock community came to us last year and asked about individual meters on the boats.
That's right.
but nobody's bothered to look at the water consumption of those different types of units.
It's still access, okay? It's still, but one guy's got it, another guy uses it, and the other guy doesn't. That's irrelevant. But I'm not after like E&D. Those are good.
I think the cost of operating the water plant isn't irrelevant to the consumption rate.
Well, that's why we want to change it to what you use.
Well,
That's
no,
what we're doing.
you're
You're going to have a base rate.
You want to charge us a base rate.
Yeah, say
I'm
it's 50,
saying that
say it's
base
50
rate is
bucks.
going to be more than my annual water consumption, just for the base rate.
What do you think it is in Naples? The base rate in Naples?
I'm not in Naples. When I
Yeah,
bought
you
my
are. You
property,
have Naples address.
I just want to say something. When I bought my property 8 or so years ago, my taxes were X. your taxes were X, everybody's taxes were equal. Since I've lived here, my taxes have gone up. Now you want to add water meters, you want to give me base rates. My stuff keeps going up because I'm paying less. So you say, well, he's paying less, he needs to pay more. It seems capricious and arbitrary. That's all I have to say.
Okay, but, you know, everything goes up, you still have to repair things. I mean,
Your rates aren't going up. What I said was, the people in the boats their rates are going up more than the houses for everything.
since I've been here, my rate for my fire department coverage has gone up $1,000. So it's gone up,
Talking
what?
percentages.
Okay, it's gone up 50%, because, no, I'm sorry, it's gone up 100%, because I pay $2,800 a year now. And it was $1,500 when I
Mine's
moved
gone
in.
up the same too.
Okay.
But my ERCs or whatever taxes that CID is getting for me has gone up way more than other types of properties.
Okay, but when we were talking about places not being equal, you've got boats over there that are easily $1 million, right? And unfortunately, they're getting charged the same as,
There's also boats over there that are $50.
again, it doesn't, I understand that. And I know it's not fair. B&D boats paying the same rate as a $1 million boat, that's not fair.
You want to change it because you.
It's already been changed. But you have to spread, you need more water meters to lower everybody's thing. So if you put them on the liveaboards,
Everybody's.
so a liveaboard keeps a boat over there for $3,000 a year. That's what their overhead is. That's it, right? $2,000 to $3,000. That's the overhead. Where can you put a boat for $2,000 to $3,000 a year?
That's not my point. My point is the rate of increase.
I mean, if this is crazy out of line, if my taxes got crazy out of line, which they may eventually, I would move. I'm not telling you to move, but I'm just telling you, I looked at other places. I went and found out what the rental rates are for these places, and they're $500 to $600 to $700 a month just to have a 30-foot boat in a slip.
Yeah, taxes in Miami are higher too.
Everybody's rate went up 3 times except for yours.
Yeah, it's really unfair for you to say we're up 100% in 5 years, but ours go up 3% in 1 year, and it's the
Excuse me,
same.
Mr. Chairman,
I know.
we're not gonna get a good recording if these people don't go to the resident.
I know.
You're not gonna have the quality.
Yeah, they were Catherine, please.
Catherine Hillmeyer, Newport Drive. You keep saying you want to be fair. A liveaboard boat, a non-liveaboard boat, a condo, a hotel room, a single-family home. If there's anything that's unfair, is the way you're trying to make things fair by grouping all these people together. The other thing is that the old board did realize that entities are different, and they adjusted things accordingly. The other thing is that the old board gave the CID the power to charge liveaboard boats that are over 40 foot an increase in their non-ad valorem taxes on the water sewer side. You have elected not to take that into consideration. And I can't wait to hear what you're going to come up with on when you start taking the non-ad valorem taxes into consideration on the water sewer side, or getting away from that and doing it on the bill. But also, I had asked Mr. Durrell many times for a breakdown of how much a single-family home pays on the water sewer side of their non-ad valorem taxes. I do know that at 777 and change on the O&M side. I was able to take Mr. McNamee's taxes from when I knew exactly what it was, because I was on the board. It was always printed out, very plain language by most parcel numbers, what the O&M side was, what the percentage of the O&M side was for everybody, what the single family home was for one ERC, again, broken down according to percentage-wise. I took Mr. McNamee's taxes, figured it out when he was paying over $2,000, determined what the O&M side was, which was $395.45. The water sewer side was $1,703. There was a year after that, O&M stayed the same. Water sewer went down because the loan for the plant was paid off. So the previous board reduced the fees because we didn't have to pay for the water plant anymore. And I was able to go through then every year and figure out exactly what it is on the water sewer side and the O&M side for a single family house, Mr. McNamee's taxes, my taxes as a condo, and my taxes as a boat owner at B2, slip owner over at the marina. I will say that everything jived out to the figures that I was able to determine, because I was never completely given an actual figure from Mr. DeWitt about a single-family home on the water sewer side. So thank you very much.
You got one again. I need you back on the board.
Is there a question?
Okay, motion to adjourn.
I make a motion to adjourn?
I had one more question. This is about the netting that goes on in the canals. Evidently, somebody told me over on the Newport side, they have signs up that these guys that come through and throw the nets and clean everything out of the main canals because they have signs up that say that they are the owner, that the Port of the Islands is the owner, not of the main canal, but the other canals, and that netting can be stopped. Because I mean, they don't segregate. They throw the net and they pull everything out, and they don't throw any.
About mullet fishermen.
No, it's not. No, it's bottom. Mullet fishing? No, they're throwing it to the bottom. They're not trying to get mullet. They're getting bait fish and stuff.
Okay.
Chum fish.
So my question then on that is, those condos over there that are able to own the land that's underneath the canal, or their water there, right? Why is it that the Port of the Islands doesn't have the water and the rest of the canals? I mean, the rest of the finger water.
Well, that's what I'm trying to get.
Does the CID not own that property underneath of there? I understand we wouldn't own the canal per se, but I don't know why we wouldn't own the land underneath of.
I may be uninformed, Kathy Oswald, Newport, but the reason why our association split it from the villas to the condos was because the villas own that property, and they wanted us to pay to have the county do something, and we said, no, we weren't going to do it. So I believe the villas owns that property.
Right. And I'm saying the same thing. Why? Yes.
Some of the condominium.
Okay, all right.
I think.
To the Master Association.
Master, our master.
But that
Connie
has
Lacerda
nothing.
again. I'm the president of my building. And this is what I was explaining to us. Well, we've been here for about 5 years. I was explaining to you that the reason why we own the land underneath is because we have to be responsible. For us to put docks there on our side, we had to be responsible for taking out any of the invasive species that were in the protected area. So we have to pay for that for a certain distance from the shore to whatever. We have to pay a certain amount to take out all the invasive species. That's the reason why we own what's underneath. And yes, there's signs there that says so on and so forth. Again,
The rest of it is state preserve, correct?
right. So I don't know if you throw a cast net and it doesn't hit the bottom, are you violating the rule? Or you throw a cast net before it, because it says that we own the bottom. It says no cast netting, no. Because before we used to have crabbers go there too and place your crab traps. I haven't seen that since, unless you're an owner, you could put your own crab traps there. I haven't seen that. I haven't seen, maybe it's not as prolific it was before, but people going in there with cast nets that are not from there, who live there, throwing cast nets to catch that. I haven't seen it. I don't know if somebody else has.
Yeah, I have.
I haven't seen it since those signs went up. So I think, but that's the reason why I believe that we own the ground.
Well, no, that's a good thing. I just wondered if we had the same.
I'm just wondering the same thing, if we, not just the ones on this side, but also the ones on the other side, across from them, all those fingers that go in. I mean, could we potentially?
Yeah, I'll research the underlying canal ownership. There are sometimes questions about, there are riparian rights that sometimes include things like fishing, so that it's more than just an ownership question, it's an ownership and then an entitlement question, but I can research that and report back in January.
Great.
And just so I make sure I understand the goal here, the goal is to emulate what the condos are doing and prevent people from netting into the canals.
Yeah, the tributary-like ones, or whatever you want to call them, the cul-de-sacs.
Okay, thank you.
Motion has been brought to adjourn.
I'll second it.
All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Everybody for coming. Again, it's the 17th at 9:30.